My name is Yvonne. I work for an organization in the Netherlands called Waag Society. And quick introduction about who the Waag is, because it will, I think, demonstrate why we started Code for the Netherlands. We are an organization that works with opening up technology for people in society, and we try to, as you would say, democratize the access to technology and also try to stimulate the technology of democratization as well. For us, it's about seeing how different type of users can not only use technology, but really help them be empowered to make changes in their own lives, in their own local communities. And we do this in 6 thematic labs. We have an open web lab, an open design lab, a future heritage lab, a future internet lab, a creative care lab, and a creative education lab. So that's a lot of labs. We're also about 50 people, so that explains, I think, why we can handle these many topics. Quick illustration, the Open Wet Lab, as I think currently is a very good showcase about what the Waag is all about. We try to democratize the access to life sciences as a technology. So we run biohack academies. We work with artists that to give them access to life sciences labs and have them create art using, for instance, bacteria or, well, an example, one artist injected herself with horse blood as an artistic presentation to raise the discussion about using animals for testing. So yeah, that's really almost fringe, you could say, but it's a very interesting technology that is coming up just because we are starting to collaborate on a project where people can start creating their own antibiotics at home. And so if you can see where this technology is heading and how it can impact society, I think you can understand the relevance of it. So we started actually knowing the Code for program through one of the European projects we were involved in. And for us, a large part of the funding comes currently from European projects, so funded by the European Commission. And the project was called Commons for Europe, and we could send 6 other cities could experiment with the Code for methodology there. It wasn't equally successful everywhere. These were the fellows in Amsterdam. They worked for 2 years, 2 consecutive years, on different type of applications. They had a lot of different challenges that they worked on. This one, they created an application where government officials could create route tours through the city. Just because Amsterdam is very congested in the central areas, it's a very big problem for the city, because if New York is an apple, then Amsterdam is like a pea, or I would say maybe even smaller, a seed. So we're very congested in the city center, and they worked on that. They also worked on other applications, but they also really worked with local communities. And for instance, this is an example. If you can read Dutch, you can see that it says learn to program, learn to code. They worked with local communities. For some of the apps they were creating were for local communities, and they were teaching them how to actually maintain the applications themselves. Because actually it was very successful for the Netherlands, so we were able to launch, when the official European project ended, we were able to launch it as an independent project for the Waag, for Waag Society, and which is called Code for NL. And you see here a picture of the official launch. That was the beginning of this year, and Catherine Bracy was actually there as a presenter. And currently we have 1 fellow working in Amsterdam, 3 openings for the city of Eindhoven. We have an advisory board, and we're planning several events for the fall for policymakers and coders within this program. And for us, this Code for NL fits a sort of need that we see in this civic tech community or in the civic tech movement. That is a nice addition to other type of civic tech projects we do. For instance, we helped the city do its first through hackathons and app competitions like App for Amsterdam. This was 2011. We helped the city launch its first open data portal, and in the past couple of years we've been working on creating an API for that called City SDK. It's a smart city real-time linked open data API, which gives static information, but of course real-time dynamic information as well. Next slide. Thank you. Another project we're doing is the Smart Citizen Lab, where we try to work with citizens that want to measure things in their own local environment. I have a short video clip of the... Thank you.
In Amsterdam is het Smart
Can you
Citizen
turn
project
down the
van
volume?
start gegaan.
No sound,
Binnen dit
please.
project
Thank
gaan
you.
100 Amsterdammers
Because it's
de
Dutch,
luchtkwaliteit
who
bij
understands
een huis
Dutch here.
meten. Met betaalbare sensors
So what you
en
see here is
elektronica.
the Smart Citizen Kit, which was made by Fab Lab Barcelona. Who doesn't know what a Fab Lab is? Or maybe I should ask, who knows what a Fab Lab is? Because people always want to say yes. So a Fab Lab is a digital fabrication lab. They're all over the world. It's a way of people to work with laser cutters, with 3D printers, with CNC milling machines, any type of technology that you would need in order to create something, anything you would want. All kinds of people come into the Fab Lab. We ourselves have 2 days that are open to the public, but I know some Fab Labs that are open the entire week. So anybody can come in and use these machines. All you have to do is pay for the materials and make sure you document the making process so people can replicate it. So it's opening up the process of making. And here is what you see here is this Smart Citizen Kit. It measures things like humidity and temperature and a few other things. And we just had a call for participation in a local newspaper and asked people if they wanted a kit and help us for all types of reasons you could apply for it. And 100 citizens got one. And if you can go to the next movie clip. About 100 people got one, and they worked with us in a program of about half a year where they measured things, and we connected them to people in local government so they could have a dialogue about what they were measuring and what the city was officially measuring and how these things related. This was a sort of experimental project that we did. You can look at the current Smart Citizen Kit live here on the Smart Citizen website. Which we are now translating into a bigger program because we saw that the quality of the sensors that were being used in this kit were not high enough. So we, in this current iteration of the Smart Citizen Lab, we are also making new sensors with people themselves, and we are sort of hacking more expensive sensors to see how they work. So it's also more about the hardware and getting people to understand how this hardware works and how the results they are measuring compared to the real measurements by the city. I think you need to go one slide back now. Another project I'm currently involved in is around our EID system. I think this could be of interest here because I think in the Netherlands, one of the things you need to know is that trust in government is very high. So that's maybe a bit of context that is relevant. And they are creating a framework for your EID management. So they are collaborating with different commercial organizations to see how this framework should look and how your digital identity, so the audit trail of the audit trail of everywhere that your information is being accessed, payments that you're making, the healthcare that you have applied for, etc. How that should work. And they were getting very low response actually from politicians in the policy making, in the political decision making process on how to, they just weren't understanding the problem. And they asked us to get a citizen's perspective on the subject. And what you see here is a picture of somebody that participated in the workshop. These weren't everyday citizens. These are, you would say, definitely civic engaged people, but they had no idea what EID was or what it should be and how your digital identity is managed in the real world currently. They were just very engaged. And I think if you go to the next slide, I can go to the next slide, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused with the movie clips. I shouldn't have put them in. So we designed a program, a workshop program for them to really get them first to understand what is your, how do you feel about your digital identity, what is it, and get a sort of shared and common language in this space, so that we could then, and I think this was like 50% of the 2-day workshop that we did, was all about first understanding what the problem is, what is the question we are trying to answer here, before going into the potential an EID framework could provide. But this is a very interesting program we're currently running, and a lot of very interesting, when I presented this last week, somebody asked me, well, this can't work. I mean, how can citizens have anything to say about any type of framework that's going to be put up to manage this? And I told them, well, I think the interesting thing is that when we, because of the way that, because of the fact that we're asking regular citizens, not that regular citizens, specifically engaged citizens, but still people without any expertise, we came up with a lot of collaborative approaches towards managing an EID system that really didn't involve going to a big commercial organization that will give you free management of your digital identity, while in the background, of course, harvesting all your data for their own purposes. One more project I wanted to highlight is Transparent Netherlands, which actually is, I think, Little Sis is American, right? It's pretty much this. It's a database of showing the way that who's connected to whom when it comes to politics and business. And I think all of these projects combined help us to understand the civic tech space in the Netherlands, and give Code for NL is a real useful intervention and a real useful addition to all these other projects that we are already running in collaboration with a lot of different organizations in the Netherlands. We still see that there is a huge need for government to understand how ICT works and how it impacts the policy-making process, so that they don't leave it to the consultants and to big procurement processes, but that they start that they start embracing this agile working methodology and seeing that they need to work more with people with coding skills in their own organization as well. Okay, thank you.